Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Noe with Speakeasy HR, presented by Payroll Partners. It is March 24th. We're in the middle of March Madness. Spring is hopefully getting here soon in the Midwest where I am and also my guest. And welcome to Speakeasy HR. This has been a live podcast that started last summer and continue to have awesome guests almost on a weekly basis, and I have a whole lot more planned out for this year. So I have a really special guest today. I've been meeting with this guest for the last couple of months as we talked through when to have him on, and I am thrilled to have on Jeff Palkowski. Welcome, Jeff. How are you today?
Pretty good. How are you, David? Like you said, it's March Madness. I don't know about you, but my team is out. Wisconsin took an early exit, but I'll keep watching this, see what happens here. But I don't have a horse in the game now.
Well, I grew up in Michigan, so I am still in tune with what's going on with the Big Ten. And I know they have a few other teams in the Big Ten. I actually went to Xavier, so that was a fun couple of days with Xavier making the first four in or final four in or whatever they call it these days. So, so it's been a fun tournament so far and a whole lot more to go with it. But yeah, it's been a fun last few days as a lot of basketball has been going on. So for those new to Speakeasy HR, my name is David Noe. I'm the host, producer, editor of this podcast, and we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you are watching live, chime in, ask questions as we are talking through this topic that Jeff is bringing to the show today. And new week word of the week blog is out. So this week's word is balance. So if you want to check that out, go to speakeasyhr.com and check that out. And you can subscribe to get every week's blog and kind of apply it to your day-to-day work and life. So hopefully that can help you. So again, the chat is open. We have some stuff to get to before we get to the topic. But Jeff, if you want to just kind of tell me about what you're involved in right now. I know you're doing a couple of different things. You're still volunteering with Disrupt HR and SHRM Foundation. So for people that don't know you, if you want to just kind of explain your background and kind of what you're into these days with HR.
Sure. Well, I've been in HR a little over 20 years, and I guess I'll call it a semi-retirement. I'm starting my next chapter, actually. I spent the last 19 years in public sector HR for the state of Wisconsin and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And my official retirement date was just 22 days ago. So ask me how I'm enjoying it. It's hard to tell. It's still an adjustment. But although I don't have the day-to-day HR, as you pointed out, I'm finding I'm actually more active than ever in HR, it seems like, just through a number of volunteer opportunities. I'm currently serving as a state director for Wisconsin State Council SHRM. And we're a pretty large state council. We have 18 chapters. It's keeping me very busy, in my third month in that role. I also, I'm on the board of Disrupt HR Madison, and that's something new to me. I actually did my first Disrupt HR stage appearance last fall, and they decided to bring me on board. And awesome. we have an event coming up actually in April 30th here in Madison. Okay. And although I won't be speaking this time, it's kind of fun to be behind the scenes and kind of organize that. So that's keeping me busy. As you mentioned, SHRM keeps me very busy, both at the state level and at the national level. I'm doing some work with the SHRM Foundation, and I'm helping them better connect with our councils and chapters across the country. If you're not aware, SHRM Foundation has a lot of resources, scholarships, grants, a lot of things that they do for the HR community, and it's just a great way for me to give back and help them get the word out and help them to raise funds. And then the last thing, which I'm not officially involved in, but I'm a huge advocate for, and it's actually based out of Ohio, is the HR conference cruise. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but our state, along with Indiana and Michigan, has partnered on the HR conference cruise, which just came back on about a month ago. And to briefly explain what that is, it's basically a 5-day cruise where we combine it with an HR conference. We actually use our conference facilities, bring speakers on board, and it's just it's been a unique opportunity. So I've been probably their unofficial evangelist for it. I'm really a big proponent of it. I think it's a great experience and really kind of falls right into kind of what we're talking about today. Because what better way to get connected with people than to spend 5 days with them on a cruise ship? So
right, absolutely.
So yeah, so it's been a busy. It's only March 24th, like you said, but it's been a busy year already, and I'm just looking forward to see what else is coming up. A lot of conferences coming up. I'm doing chapter visits, so yeah, I'm busier than ever right now.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already March, and it's actually my wedding anniversary today. So happy anniversary to my wife, Stephanie.
Well, happy anniversary. What number is this?
We actually got remarried 2 years ago, so it's our second anniversary. I feel like it's been a lot longer than that, but
wow, congrats!
Yeah, it's been an awesome ride. So, got a couple folks in here checking us out. Bethany, congratulations on your retirement. Sounds like you are keeping busy. So we've got Bethany. And our friend Nicole, she is in here. So hi, Nicole. Thanks for joining. So yeah, we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you are watching, chime in where you're watching or any comments, questions along the way. So before we get to the topic, we have a couple things still to get through, Jeff. World famous envelope icebreaker game is next. So I hope you have a number 1 through 15. So as this plays, think of a number 1 through 15, and we'll get to it here. Come on. There we go.
All right, let's go with number 6.
Number 6. All right. Number 6, we've got, here's number 6 for you.
All right.
So I'm not cheating. And it is, what is the top place to go on your bucket list?
This may sound boring, but my top places, and there's 2 of them, are Kansas and Wyoming. And you're going to ask why. I've visited 48 states. Those are the last 2 that I need, and I'm looking to get to both Kansas and Wyoming this year. So
Kansas and Wyoming. Okay.
That is my current bucket list.
Okay. Kansas and Wyoming. Very cool. All right. One more other than 6. What's your other number?
How about 7?
7. All right. Number 7. Uh-oh. Okay. When you were in grade school, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Definitely wasn't HR. Actually, in grade school, I wanted to be a meteorologist. I enjoyed, like, I remember just watching the weather person on TV when I was young, and I wanted to do that probably until maybe junior high or so. Then I realized how much math and science was involved. I'm like, no, maybe we'll do something else. But yeah, that's what I wanted to be when I was growing up for probably all through grade school.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they can be wrong all the time, and they still probably have a job. And I don't know how many people can actually say that other than a meteorologist, but that's okay. Well, good. No, I appreciate you playing the world famous envelope icebreaker game. So just a couple of words from our sponsor payroll partners, and then we're going to get into it, Jeff. And I'm really excited to get into this topic that you brought to us here. So 1 second, let me play this real quick, and then we are going to jump into it here.
Finding a new employee takes time and money. For one position on a single job board, you could easily spend a minimum of $5 to $10 a day advertising a job post. It's worth noting that the average time it takes to hire a new employee is 36 days. However, it can take longer than that. You could find yourself paying hundreds of dollars a month for a single job board. And if you're using multiple job boards for multiple positions, this could add up to thousands of dollars a month. There is a much simpler and more affordable way of finding the right candidate. At Payroll Partners, we offer an applicant tracking system to help manage your hiring process. Our ATS is customizable, allowing you to decide which days you want to run the job and when to close it so you don't break the bank. And this feature lets you e-blast your network, posting jobs on multiple boards at once, all managed in one location. Payroll Partners, elevating your payroll and HR experience.
So if you are fed up and have too many pain points with your payroll HR technology, look us up, get in touch with me. I'd be happy to connect you with our team of sales professionals and payroll architects and people that are building technology to work for a lot of small businesses and mid-sized businesses, some small, some large, 2 to 2,000 employees. If that fits what you are, look us up. We'd be happy to help you. So, all right, Jeff. So the power of connectivity in HR. So when I came to you and said, hey, you want to come on Speakeasy HR? You said, absolutely, let's do it. And I said, what are you passionate about talking about in your world right now? And, your career did not start in HR. It was more in the IT banking, right? Like you were not in HR, but here you are with almost 20 years experience or so in HR. So, what does connectivity mean to you in the context of HR, and why is it so crucial?
Well, to be honest, I think it's crucial in any field, really. I mean, you can make the argument that it's kind of cliche, but I think we're all better together. Obviously, when you try to tackle things yourself, it's usually not the best approach. But I think particularly from an HR standpoint, HR can be so messy and complicated. I mean, we're dealing with people, and oftentimes having those connections can help you from making a good decision versus a bad decision. And particularly, I think of those individuals, and I've never been in this situation, but a lot of my friends have, where they've been the HR department of one, and it's like in those instances, I'm just thinking, who do you turn to? I mean, I've been fortunate. I've worked typically on smaller teams, maybe 3 to 10 individuals, but I've always had a colleague to go to, someone. But I think of some of my HR friends out there that they're the sole HR practitioner for a organization of 200. I mean, if you're not connected with others, I'm not even sure how you survive. So I just think it's such an important element, and it's something I will say for probably the first half, maybe even a little more. I don't feel I was very connected working in HR. I think I did try I can do it all myself, and really took that approach. And it really wasn't until maybe the last 8 years or so that I've really felt connection and have actually seen the value in it. Yeah. And for everyone it's different too. And I know we'll talk about how to get connected, because I don't think there's a wrong answer to it. Right. But for me personally, it actually was social media, which is kind of odd when you think about it. I mean, social media gets such a bad rap nowadays, and people are leaving this platform and this and that. To going back when Twitter was Twitter, now X, but when it was Twitter, I actually started getting involved, just connecting on Twitter. And it was back at the time they had something called Twitter chats, and actually something that SHRM put on called Next Chat.
Are you looking for a podcast that talks about humanity as well as human resources? Listen to the Reciprocity with AG podcast, where leaders in workforce and human resources talk more about themselves, how they reciprocate to others, and how they have received unbelievable advice for some of their mentors and people they've worked with.
Where I think it was every Wednesday afternoon, they would come on and facilitate a live chat, kind of like we're doing here, but do it over Twitter. And they would post a question, and then HR people from all over the world would post their responses. And I started connecting with people that way. And I did that for a little bit. I think I just stumbled onto it, and I put it on my calendar, made sure I did it. And then a person reached out to me, and it's a person, actually one of your former guests, and probably someone that most of the people listening to us know the name. It's Steve Brown. Yeah. And Steve happened to be one of those people that connected me. I had no idea who he was. And and we made a connection, and he was saying, well, if you like this, try this. And it just started snowballing from there. And eventually what became just kind of an afternoon, once a week, hop on social media, eventually burst into, within a couple of years, just this huge network of individuals that I would have never engaged with had I not decided to hop on social media and meet a Steve Brown, who is, the master connector. And he got me connected with so many different individuals. And to this day, it's like, I remember that. And I always tease Steve about it. I'm like, I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for that. Right. And I know it sounds like hyperbole, but no, really, I just think of all the connections. I mean, certainly I would not be sitting here today speaking with you, I had that, because it's like, obviously you never know where the connections are going to take you. Right. And so, yeah, it was just kind of a humble beginning. And I look at it 9 years later, and it's just like, it's just a great network of friends, colleagues that are global. And it's just, and like I said, it started very, very simply.
Right. I remember when I was at lunch and someone mentioned LinkedIn and they said, "Do you have a LinkedIn profile?" It was my first job in HR. I was doing benefits and, learning the world of health insurance. And they're like, "You need to get on LinkedIn." And I'm like, okay. And this was probably 2007, maybe 2008,
Okay.
and I feel like all of the other social media accounts or, platforms out there have evolved. LinkedIn has evolved, but, I think it's still going to be the one from a professional standpoint that's still going to be probably one of the more utilized from, having connections and seeing who you're connected to. Because when I look up people and it says you have 84 mutual connections, I'm like, oh, wow. Like we have a lot of people that we're connected to somehow. So it's always interesting to see that from a HR professional level. So no, that's
I think we're the point today where LinkedIn. I actually had a conversation about this the other day with someone. They said, you meet someone, you go to LinkedIn and you don't find them. You start like the bells start going off. Like, wait a minute, this person doesn't have a LinkedIn profile, and you work in HR. You start to question that nowadays. Whereas, you sound like you're an early adopter. I actually, I joke about this. With Jennifer McClure, because she's obviously LinkedIn and she was one of the first ones. And I think I came in a few months after her back in 2004. I was like it's like you can find out what number you are within LinkedIn. And I think Jennifer showed that. Yeah. And it's like, I have a very low number. So something I'm proud of, but again, I didn't use it for years.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, it was like, well, you only went to LinkedIn when you were looking for a job, and then you update your profile. But nowadays, LinkedIn is definitely one of my go-to platforms on a daily basis. And, you can make so many connections there and see what people are up to. And it's, it is, I would say it's the primary, but certainly I spend a lot of time in X, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, they all have their own purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. So how has your professional network helped you and in your jobs to be more effective in HR?
Well, I would say from a tactical standpoint, as I mentioned, perfect example is you run into something, and this happens a lot in HR. You run into an issue and you think, oh my God, this has never happened to anyone else. Well, I reach out to my net, or I think about who can I reach out to. So there have been countless times that I've run into, challenging issues, whether it's employee relations or complicated medical leave. I mean, you pick the topic, and sure, you can always go to Google. You can go to the SHRM resources, but typically what I'll do is I'll think about, well, who's an expert in this field, and then just start messaging people. And that's usually, I found the best way to kind of get answers. So from a tactical standpoint, it's again, helped me on a daily basis. But overall, it's opened so many doors, made so many connections. I just think about all of the things that I've been able to do, and you had me go through some of the activities that I mentioned early on, whether it's SHRM, Disrupt HR conference cruise, probably some other things that I can't even think of off the top of my head, but all of those are the result of being connected with someone and that network.
Right.
Even the fact that we're speaking here today, someone had seen that, oh, I saw you're going to be on this podcast, Speakeasy HR, and they're like, did you apply for that? And I said, no, it's just like, I said, I didn't know who David was, but somehow we had a connection. And when I've done this in other times, it's usually it's a friend of a friend who heard something that you're passionate about this. I think it's my professional network has really given me opportunities, and what I've tried to do then is give back as much as I can through those opportunities, like what we're doing today.
Yeah. And I think with, organizations like SHRM, especially local SHRM chapters, you've got the power of having a human connection when people are going to different events and you have like-minded HR professionals in the room together. Or state SHRM conferences or your crews. So like there's the virtual connection with LinkedIn and your other platforms, but then it's like getting down and sitting and spending time with people, that have like-minded, roles in HR and things that they really can connect together. I mean, and there's other industries like that. When you think of like a teacher or a, accountant or somebody that, is dealing with some kind of project. But when it comes to like HR and dealing with people and how to manage people and how to, handle employee relation issues, it's like you really, when you're able to sit down with someone and actually talk to them face to face or through a phone call, you find that, like you said, you find those people that you can lean to when you have problems. Cause like, there's certain HR folks that like, even me in my role, like there have been times where I'm like, I've never had this happen before. I'm sure someone I know has had that happen. So it's definitely important to have that from a personal brand standpoint, like having the right, having the right network to go to and knowing who to go to is really going to benefit somebody in their career for sure.
Well, and to your point, I know I've been talking mostly about social media, online things, but so many of them do become face-to-face then. And I'll give you a perfect example. So I attended my first SHRM annual conference a number of years ago. And by nature, I'm an introvert. So I would go to the conference. I would go to my session. I would sit there. I would, get your box lunch, eat in the corner. And I'm still that person. But what I did was after my first conference, I connected with so many people online that when I arrived there, I like literally had 30 people that I already knew because we had met online. And then it was so much easier to then make that personal one-on-one connection with people that, you already have something in common. You've connected, you've chatted online. And now when I go to a conference, I hardly get to any sessions because there's so many people. Again, that network has become so broad of people either that I can't wait to see again because I've seen them before, or I'm meeting them for the first time in person because we've connected. So it's it just every year it just tends to grow and grow and grow. And again, it's so fulfilling just to go to these in-person events because again, it's normally I'm going to be connecting with somebody, and many times it's meeting someone for the first time in person. That's it's really exciting.
Right. Well, and you've been on the SHRM Foundation. You've been involved with that. You've been involved with the annual conference, Expo, influencer group, right? So you have to be doing something that stands out from other people to be a part of that group. So how did that all happen? Like, was it something that you obviously got connected to the right person and talked to them and they said, "Hey, Jeff, I think you should be a part of this"?
It's funny. And again, I'm not just trying to be humble here, but it's like, there's very few things that I've like outwardly applied for that I want to do. It's just typically it tends to, and it's a great thing. So I figure I might be doing something right, but to talk about like the SHRM influencers, and actually one of your guests, one of your people that are watching us now, Nicole Roberts, she was a fellow influencer with me at the annual conferences. And to give a little background for it, so they used to be called the SHRM bloggers. And what they would do is they would reach out to a number of individuals that typically did a lot of blogging, but then also did social media. Yeah. And before I went to my first SHRM annual conference, I stumbled onto it and I said, I'm going to start following these people because they had their LinkedIn handles, their Twitter. So that's how I started to make some initial connections. And then I started following them and then kind of retweeting and kind of engaging. Well, I started doing it so much to the point that the following year, SHRM reached out and said, "Oh, you're really active on social media. Would you like to be a guest of ours? Come and basically do the same thing?" And I'm like, "Sure, I will." And have had the opportunity to do that for the last 5-6 conferences. Yeah. And all I really have to do is just share the conference from my experience. So it's really, leading up to the conference is talking about the various speakers and engagement, connecting. Again, there's a connection again, connecting people with others, because like I said, learning from my experiences, going to a conference by yourself, it's so much more meaningful if you can connect with people. So a lot of what I've done is, as a SHRM influencer, is connect others together. So then when they arrive at the conference, they're having a great experience. So yeah, so it's been being a part of that. It was just, and you hit on it, and it's something again that Jennifer McClure talks about a lot, is personal brand. And I guess I really never gave it a lot of thought, but I guess Yeah, I guess I do have a brand based on kind of the exposure that I have on social media and the things that I post. I try to be very positive, try to
Yeah.
connect others, try to give back.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's helped to open some doors to, things like Speakeasy HR and other opportunities.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's just part of it. Just kind of and I think the one thing I've learned too is you have to really be your authentic self as well. I mean, people can see through you if you're there are people out there that like to be self-promoters and get out there and put things and like I don't consider myself that, even though some have accused me of that. Like I said, I try to be genuine, and whatever you see as far as like any passion or excitement, it's real, and I'm putting it out there. And again, I think you have to be genuine, otherwise people are going to see right through it.
Yeah. And that's why I do this live, because I mean, anybody can listen to a recorded podcast that's probably somewhat AI generated, right? Like this isn't AI generated. Like you and I are talking, and even though you're in Wisconsin and I'm in Kentucky, we're having just an honest, genuine conversation. And so I think that's what I enjoy about this podcast, is that it's people coming on that have a passion for the topic, and we talk about it and hopefully share ideas and insights with other people watching. So that's what I'm going to continue to do, and have people like yourself on. So what advice or strategies would you offer someone looking to help build their professional network?
Well, I think the number one thing because when people see what I do, and I get this even more so now that I'm, quote unquote retired, it's like, oh, well, you have a lot of time. I don't have the time to do that. And I used to hear that a lot, even when I was, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. I'm like, I still made time for it. And I guess that's my number one advice is, it's not going to happen unless you make it a priority. So really, I think networking, connecting, it needs to be intentional. It needs to be purposeful. So, I mean, I gave you an example. So that the next chat that we used to have, I mean, that was on my calendar. I would not schedule meetings. I mean, to me, that was something that was important. I'm going to be there so I can get my phone out and, be on Twitter. But so I think you have to be intentional about it. Otherwise it doesn't happen. So that's number one. And then number two, I think what I touched on earlier, you need to be genuine. You need to be yourself. And I think the big thing is, and I'm sure you see this, David, too. I mean, I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn. There, it's that I love connecting with people, but when I connect with someone and then 5 minutes later they're selling me something, I'm like, okay, now it's transactional. It's like I'm when I connect with, it's really looking for. And it's not to say might not be a sale or something down the road, but if that's the first thing that comes out, that's a big turnoff. So I would say, even if you're in a sales environment, you're prospecting, things like that, develop the relationship first. I think that's most important. So I mean, I think that as well when you're looking to develop a professional network. But again, it shouldn't be transactional. It shouldn't be, I'm going into this because I want something. I found that down the road, it usually ends up being, it's a give and take, and you share ideas and so on. But again, I don't go into it looking for a specific, well, I'm going to connect with this person because I want X. And I think that's not the best strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. I have not gone to a lot of SHRM conferences. I will be honest. I haven't gone to many, partially because I go to a lot of things throughout the year locally to get CE credits to keep up with my certification. So going to a state level conference has become now part of my job. And I did go to the Kentucky SHRM last year and saw Steve Brown be a keynote speaker, and talked to him and several other people that were there. And, we had a booth for the company with Peril Partners. And so we got to connect with a lot of HR people. But, I think like you said, if you go to those events and you have an agenda to connect with people and attend the different breakout sessions and stuff, everybody goes into it obviously with the intent of getting CE credits, I think, and being able to connect with people, like you said, that have been maybe a virtual connection, and now they get to meet them in person and go grab a drink after the session, or get lunch or dinner together. So I think it's all about what you put into it. And if you're just going and you don't talk to anybody, but I guess if someone is watching and maybe they're not a regular attendee of a state conference or a local HR conference, is there something that you would suggest as some advice for someone to just maybe get out of their comfort bubble and maybe try to do something, for themselves to try, to try to get more connected on a local level?
Yeah, well, I think I think starting at the local level is both the easiest. It's not threatening, I guess would be the best
Yeah.
way to put it. Typically, if you're joining a local chapter, you already have some sense of connection. If not geographically, you may know some of the same people. I started off at the chapter level as most people do if you're involved with SHRM, and yeah, that it was like just it's usually much smaller. It's less of a like I said, less of a challenging environment, particularly if you're not a huge extrovert. And I think that's a good way to get started, to kind of dip your toe in the water.
Yeah.
Then the state conferences, each state typically does some type of annual conference, and they're a little larger then. So like, for example, here in Wisconsin, our state conference, we have about 12 to 1,300 people, and it's one of the larger conferences in the country.
Yeah.
And it can be overwhelming in those instances. It's typically, I would typically recommend it if you're able to go with a colleague, maybe at another company or with your own company. That can help to have a buddy to do that, to show you around. Definitely connect ahead of time. I don't go to any conference now without looking for trying to connect with people ahead of time. And I think that's another piece of advice.
Yeah.
Now, when you get to the SHRM annual conference, and I don't know if that's been on your list yet, but that's a whole different animal. I mean, now you're talking about 25,000 people. And I will say, as an introvert, I get thoroughly exhausted. I mean, it's a total different experience. And it's really more about the experience, because it's, like I said, it's so large, and I get totally different things from the annual conference versus a state conference versus a local event. So I think it's all very scalable.
Yeah.
You'll get something in each one. It's just if you're looking for more of that one-on-one connection, definitely the local is going to be probably more productive. When you get to the larger conferences, I'm on for it, and then it's like literally I have to go to my hotel room and turn the lights off and and recharge, because it can be such an overwhelming. I mean, it's like physically exhausting,
Right.
at least for me.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade it for the world, because it's something I look forward to every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely felt that just going to the state level, just the 2 days we were there. I wasn't even there for the whole thing. And it was a lot. It was a lot of fun, a lot of, great experience. So, I think we've already touched on this, but when you're trying to find time during a busy work day or work week and maintaining those connections or trying to build the connections, let's say on LinkedIn, is there something that you try to do on a consistent basis? Is it try to connect to more people that you have mutual connections with, or, as you go to events? Because I have found, like, when I go to an event, some people will put up there, like, scan their QR codes to connect. Yep. But like, I always look at who the keynote, the guest speakers, the different people, and I during their, maybe it's probably not the best thing to do, but like while they're talking, like I bring them up on LinkedIn and I'll find them and I'll connect them and I'll say, awesome conversation today, I really enjoyed it, hopefully we can connect. And so, like, I try to do it in the moment, and so I don't forget. But is there something that you try to do on a consistent basis to keep it kind of your day-to-day priority?
Yeah, I do. And like I said, when I had a full work calendar, I would actually schedule time, and typically there would be breaks, and I might just, put a half-hour break in the morning, and I would take that half hour just to hop out on LinkedIn and see, basically look what's out there. And again, if you have a network, you're going to see posts from people, and even just a simple reaction of liking that post or dropping a quick comment or something. I mean, that's part of the connection. So I try to do that as much as I can. I probably spend a lot more time reading and reacting than posting my own. I post maybe a few times a week things, and I try to I think a big thing to do is reshare as well. So you might have friends that are posting a job at their company, and help them with it, repost it to your network, do things like that. I just think there's very simple things that you can do that don't take a lot of time, that have a big impact and a bigger impact than you even realize. Right. The one thing about LinkedIn though, and I know I wanted to share this because a lot of people are really focused on numbers and like, oh, I've got 50,000 connections. I mean, as I told you, I've been on LinkedIn for 21 years now, and I think I'm right around 4,000. And so it's really it's never been about the quantity. It's really been about the quality. And so I don't accept every invitation that I get. I don't randomly send them out. If I do, I think you have to have a note basically to say, here's why I'm connecting. And I'll give you a perfect example. A friend of mine, Eric Kershad out of Chicago, he's a speaker, and he does a session called networking as an introvert, networking for introverts.
Yeah.
And one of the things he talks about LinkedIn, he's like, so if you're going to connect with someone on LinkedIn, send them a message, hey, I read your post. I thought it was really engaging. I do something, make some kind of connection that way. Cause he said, just sending a LinkedIn connection and just connecting is the same thing as like going to a conference, walking into the room and throwing your business cards at everybody. Who does that, right? Nobody does that. But on LinkedIn, we're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to connect with all these people and send them a connection request without any context. And I think to be genuine, you need to show, hey, here's why I want to connect with you. And then again, it can normally start off with just a brief comment, maybe a like on a post. And then who knows where it's going to take you. Right.
And I've done that for having guests on here. I've reached out to people. I found them on TikTok. I found them on LinkedIn, and I'll be like, hey, I love your message about leadership, or I love your message about this, or your article was great. I feel like that would be an awesome topic to bring onto the podcast. Let us, hopefully we can connect soon. And people will respond, and they'll be like, oh, thanks for reading it. Let's connect. So I love that advice, because I don't accept everybody that asks me to connect, especially if I look at it and I have no mutual connections, and it probably is somebody trying to sell me something, which again, that's their strategy, which may or may not work. But yeah, it really, I think if you make it part of your daily, weekly routine, you just never know where that'll take somebody, especially if they're looking to fill a job and you don't know the company too well, but the person that works there, and you feel like you want to help them and, share a job post, like you said. I think that goes a long way. And I've had people reach out to me when we have a job opening, and they're like, hey, I got someone in mind. And then I've had the same person get referred to us by multiple people. And it's like, wow, people actually are seeing that. And it might be because they shared the post or whatnot. So like, especially with people trying to fill jobs and find good people to hire, I think when you trust a connection and they have a mutual, reference, or somebody that might be considering a position, I think that's huge. I think that's so important for having that human connection in HR and recruiting, and trying to help people with, finding good applicants, for sure.
So, and a lot of what I do on LinkedIn, which it used to be, if you remember way back in the day, I believe this is how LinkedIn was set up originally. In order to connect with somebody, you had to like introduce someone. Back in the day, I remember we're like, and they were really big on like writing recommendations, and that's kind of gone by the wayside. But yeah, I try to use that old school approach now, and I especially do it a lot with students. I work with a lot of students, and it's like, they're interested. I would like to work at company X someday, and I'm like, well, let's see, who do I know there? Oh, I know the HR business partner there. So what I'll do is I'll go in, they're both my connections. I'll go into messaging and say, David, I'd like you to meet Steve. Steve, meet Dave, and basically introduce him that way. And then here, you take it from here. And I probably do that like once a week with a student, or maybe someone looking for a job or something. Because again, it's that personal connection. Yep. And again, I'm going to do it with people that I actually know. And so that way, it helps the person that I'm connecting, because they're like, oh, well, Jeff's recommending him. I know Jeff, and it's like, yeah, you're helping that person. And like I said, I've had situations where people have gotten jobs, people have have made meaningful connections from something just as simple as, and what did that take me? Maybe 2 minutes to write that message, connect them two together, and it's like, and see where it goes. And like I said, I have no control over it at that point. It's like, well, if they choose to connect with each other, great, but I've made the connection.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. It's a powerful, but yet quick, gesture that you can do. So again, if anybody's listening and you don't really do that a lot on LinkedIn or other platforms, the next time you see a friend that posts a job, hey, we're looking to hire this person, share it, like it, tag somebody that you might want to recommend for the job. I think there's just things that you can do without maybe paying it forward. I try to always help people. If someone comes to me and they're like, hey, I'm looking for a job, and it may not be with us, I always try to ask them, like, what jobs are you looking to get? What kind of companies? Where are you trying to work? I need to know a little bit more so that I can see, like, within my group of people, who might I know that works in the IT department or the IT company or whatever. And, again, it takes a little bit of time, and it could really impact somebody's life, like career wise, so definitely think that's important. So, so how has the power of connectivity changed your approach to, attending conferences? I think we've talked a little bit about it, but is there anything else that you haven't mentioned that you feel like is worth bringing up while we're talking about it?
Well, it's like I almost have the opposite problem now, where I feel I've got such a great network that people are like, hey, you need to come to this conference, and you only have so much time and so much money, but it's because I love doing it. But for example, this summer I'm attending for the first time the HR Indiana conference in Indianapolis, and I have some friends there, and they're like, Jeff, you have to come. Jeff, you have to come. And finally, I'm like, fine, I'll come. It's like I've heard great things about it. I see a lot of posts. I see things that they do. I'm like, well, I'm going to take the time to experience this here. So I plan to go this summer. I'm excited because their keynote speaker is Gary Sinise. So I can't wait to see Lieutenant Dan. I thought that was pretty cool at an HR conference. But yeah, it's just I think. It's really having this network. I learn about a lot of these conferences, even by not attending. And that's something that, going back to the SHRM influencer thing, that's something that we try to do as well. We try to create that FOMO, that fear of missing out, that, hey, you're not here in Las Vegas, but here's all the things we're doing. And, again, seeing it through our eyes, through our videos, through our pictures, through our posts. And I've learned about a lot of different conferences around the country that way, because I follow a lot of it on social media. And like I said, eventually it gets to the point, like, I really want to go to this one because I'm seeing such great things about it every year. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that's really changed. Yeah. And speaking of the annual conference, so this year the SHRM annual conference is in San Diego, and I think I might have seen your reaction. I think you might have seen it on LinkedIn. SHRM decided to do some video when the conference was in Chicago last year, and they put together some video of me at the exhibit hall and things, and now they're using it to promote it. And I just thought that was the coolest thing because, again, it's real. I was having such a great time there, and just having this video crew follow me for an hour, and I had no idea what they were going to do with it, but they put together a really slick video. I'm like, wow, that looks like a lot of fun. I mean, I look at that, I'm like, yeah, I think this is something I want to attend. And so just being able to do that is just it's been great. Yeah,
that's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I saw that. I thought it was great. I was like, oh man, Jeff's coming on my podcast, and he just was featured on that video. It was awesome. Bruce, welcome in, my friend. Great seeing you guys. Jeff's a great example of showing the way. Post takes a little time, but has huge impact. Thanks for showing the way.
Well, I'll say this, since we see Bruce Waller here, anyone who's listening now, make sure you connect with Bruce Waller. And you know this, David. He's a great guy, great leadership, thought leader, author. He's also a SHRM volunteer leader. We share that in common. And Bruce is one of my favorite people on this planet. So definitely, if you want to start that connection, you're looking for somebody to connect with Bruce Waller.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. It's awesome to see people that have been on the show come in here, like Nicole and Bruce, to chime in, and having that community of people is awesome. So thanks for coming in, Bruce, and being part of it. But yeah, if you're not connected to Bruce, definitely look him up. His books are awesome, and I'm sure he will hopefully add a few new followers along the way with people listening. But Jeff, I think from an HR industry career perspective, There's been some changes over the last year with some different initiatives changing, and I think there was some disruption there. And, maybe people that are new to HR, maybe someone that's been in the industry as a generalist or a recruiter, maybe just starting into their first HR job, or they're really considering a career in HR and they want to do it as long as you have. And I'm close to your level, not all the way there, but 17, 18 years now. So like, what advice would you give someone that's maybe at the front end of their career in HR?
Well, I think like you alluded to earlier, HR is my second career. So I had a whole career before that. So I didn't take the traditional route. And now I mentor a lot of students and work with them. And I share a lot of advice with them that I wish I would have gotten when I was first getting started.
Yeah.
And some of it we talked about today. I tell the students, you might be a junior or senior in your undergrad, and your career is a couple of years away. You can still start developing your network now. And so again, kind of getting back to the topic, I said, now's the time to do that. Get people, especially if you're a student, find some mentors out there, set up a coffee with someone, learn about what they do. That's something I wish I would have had more of when I got into HR, kind of that understanding of all of the different areas. I kind of had to learn it on the fly. You get in like, oh, I want to work in HR. And, and after a few years, I really like this area. I hate this area. I think as much of that as you can learn going into it, that's probably my number one advice. And creating that network is one way to do it. Number two, I would also say, be flexible. When people say HR, that can mean a lot of different things. I mean, again, you're the HR department of one, you're doing everything. You're in a large corporation, organization. You might be, one of 100, 200 HR people, and you're focused on comp, you're focused on payroll, talent acquisition. I mean, so be flexible and do a lot of different things. And I kind of did that early in my career, finding what I liked and what I didn't. So if you're offered an opportunity, I always say, don't say no, because you might either find you really like it or you find you don't like it. And either way, it's going to help you moving forward. So I think trying different things in HR is also helpful. And then finally, HR is one of those professions where I think if you're looking for something that's stable and you're going to come in and nothing's going to change and it's going to be the same every day, and Steve Brown says this: if you don't like people and you don't like change, get out, because really that's all you're going to have. And I think knowing that up front, that you're going to be constantly learning, and as you mentioned, a lot of things are out of our control. I mean, whether it's the government changing something, whether it's your organization, laws change, policies change, people change. How many people predicted COVID 5 years ago? I mean, you're always learning and adapting. And to me, that's the biggest part of HR. If anybody connects with me on LinkedIn, they'll see part of my headline is I talk about, HR needs to be more than a fire extinguisher. I think for the longest time, that's kind of what HR has thought of. I'm putting out fires. All I do is I react. And I think to be effective, you need to be the person preventing those fires. You have to be more proactive. You need to be the person getting out there and addressing things before they become issues. And so again, those are all things that I think from over 20 years of experience, I try to share anytime I get to talk to someone that's looking to get into the field, someone who's new to it. But I also tell them too, I said, my path is, you don't want to follow my path. You need to forge your own path, because everyone's different. Circumstances are different. Right. But, take some pieces of advice and then find your passion. I guess that's the bottom line. Whatever you do, whether it's HR or anything, find your passion.
Yeah. No, that's awesome advice. I wish I heard that when I was starting HR. Not that it would have maybe changed my perception on things, but I look back at the original couple of jobs that I had in HR, and it did take, it took me some time to figure out where I really enjoyed HR and I didn't, and getting certified and learning about things that I may not ever have to deal with. But, there's going to be new technology and AI is going to change things. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have humans that have to be managed and they have to be developed. And there's only so much that technology will be able to do with that. So there's still going to be that human element. So HR it's not like, it's not like a industry that, or, career that's going to, it's not going to go away. I mean, it's going to just evolve, and there's going to be more tools and resources for you, but there's still going to be HR in the future. Like, that's not going to go away.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you hear a lot about, people are concerned about AI replacing jobs. No, if anything, it's going to be more important because the humans are going to become even more important in their roles using HR or AI as a tool. And as long as you have humans, you're going to need, human resources because it goes hand in hand. We're always going to have workers. And so it's a profession that, I only see expanding and not contracting.
Yeah. Bruce said, what is a great question for someone wanting to develop a network when they reach out to someone new to connect?
Bruce knows the answer to this. He must just be throwing me a softball because he is the expert in Bruce. Bruce is a great storyteller and a person that can do that. I always say great person is and what I typically do when I connect with someone, obviously I'll usually know something about them, whether looking through the LinkedIn profile or know a little bit about them. The first question I always have is, how can I help you? Because
right.
What can I do for you? Because again, it's kind of that reverse of I want something from you. Rather, what can I give you? And again, sometimes it's just they're looking for advice, they're looking for a connection, they're looking for lessons learned. And so that's usually usually the question that I ask is like, how can I help you?
Right.
And usually, sometimes people be like taken aback by it because, whoa, what do you mean? And then you start to have a conversation and you realize, there's things that I may have based on my experiences that I can help you with. Just like your question, David, where it's like, what is some advice you'd give? I don't just freely, I'll ask if they want it, first of all. And if they do, I'm more than happy to share. So that's usually a good question of how can I help you?
Right. Absolutely. Nope. That's all great advice. And, hopefully people that have been listening to it have gained some kind of understanding of what they can maybe do to provide more of a, effective approach to being more connected to people and reach out and share things that are in their network when it comes to jobs and different opportunities. So you just never know what that will do for somebody in your network and how you can maybe help them, if it's just sharing a job or helping them, with a certain, HR situation. And so it's a big community that just keeps getting bigger. And, I use this platform to connect to people like you, Jeff, and I'm always learning from the guests. So I, really do appreciate your time. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add to, the conversation before we end up here, but I really do appreciate your time.
No, the only thing I would add is, again, I think there is power in connection. I think just take the time. You just never know who's out there who can help make you a better person just through that connection. So I would I guess if I leave the conversation with anything, it's just get out there and connect, because you just never know. And I've had so many positive connections, and it's something that I don't take for granted. And, connecting with people like you and with Bruce who's on here and Nicole who's on here, these are all great people that I've, connected one way or another. And that's the only advice I can give, that it's going to help you somewhere down the road.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time, Jeff. I wish you all the best. Let's stay connected, obviously, and hopefully see each other soon or talk soon. So wishing you the best this spring, and have a good time at all the different events that you're going to, and hopefully we'll see each other at some point. But appreciate your time, Jeff, and really enjoyed our conversation. So
yeah, and thank you for what you're doing. Like I said, this is a great platform, but just another way of connection. And like you said, if you want to see what I'm up to, follow me on social media. My life is an open book. You'll see what I'm doing there.
There you go. Well, thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate your time, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Next Monday, we've got another awesome episode coming up. So make sure to follow speakeasyhr.com for all the past episodes. Look us up on Spotify or anywhere else on demand, and we'll see you soon. Jeff, again, thanks, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.